Hi BookTube, my name's Nadine and welcome to another video. So today I thought I would talk about the books that I read in the month of September. Yesterday when I was thinking about doing this, I did think to myself that, actually I don't think I'll have much to tell you about. I don't think I've read very many books in September. So I checked through my Goodreads and actually I finished 9 books. So I don't know how I managed to do that without realising that I was doing a lot of reading, but there you go. So yeah, I'm just going to run through them in the order that I finished them. So, the first book that I finished in September was This Old Homicide by Kate Carlisle. So this is book number 2 in the Fixer Upper series. So it follows a woman named Shannon who runs a construction company in this small coastal American town. And they specialise in refurbishing old properties. In this book, her next door neighbour Jesse, who she has known since a child, he's an old man, friend of her father, he is found dead in his home. At first everybody thinks it's natural causes, but Shannon is not convinced of that. She has known this man a long time and she knows that he is very neat and orderly, but when she discovers the body, the house is an absolute mess, and so she's convinced that somebody was there looking for something, and so she decides to do a little bit of digging herself. So far I'm really enjoying this series. I like the characters in it and the pacing's really good, so I'm definitely looking forward to continuing on with that, and in fact I've bought another 3 books in the series, so I will be continuing very soon with those. The next book that I finished was book 11 of The Walking Dead. You kind of know the story of The Walking Dead. I'm really enjoying reading these also. They differ in many ways from the TV show, so if you have been on the fence about reading them because you've watched the TV show and you don't see the point in rehashing the same things, there are enough differences in here to make it interesting. So in this one, it continues with the storyline of Negan and the Saviours, and then also introduces the Whisperers. So yeah, that was good fun. Next, I read an Agatha Raisin by MC Beaton, and it was the Agatha Raisin and the Walkers of Dembley. So in this book, after a stint working back in PR in London, Agatha returns to her home in the Cotswolds. I don't know if you can see that. And she decides to lose a bit of weight and carry on chasing her handsome neighbour James by joining his rambling club. There is another rambling club in the vicinity also that has quite militant views, and one of their members winds up dead, and so Agatha decides to investigate what's happened. Again, it was quite good fun. It says on the front of these books, Queen of the Village Mystery, and it's kind of right. If you're wanting cosy English village mysteries, that's the place to go. As soon as I finished that, I continued with the series and read Agatha Raisin and the Murderous Marriage. Sorry, I know you can't really see that on the lighting. It was better when I was trying to film earlier, but my battery ran out. But yeah. So in this one, Agatha finally manages to catch her handsome neighbour, and just as they are about to get married, her ex-husband turns up. Well, not so ex-husband, as they are still married. So when he then winds up dead, both Agatha and James are suspects, and so they have to find out what's happened. Again, that was another fun story. I really enjoyed that. The next book that I read was High Rising by Angela Thirkell. So Angela Thirkell, I get the feeling you're going to hear a lot about on this channel because I think she's going to be my new obsession. I've read 2 books by her so far, and they've both been absolutely fantastic, so I fully intend to read everything that she's written. So this is the first book in her Barsetshire series, and yes, that is the Barsetshire of Anthony Trollope's books. And it follows, I think it follows different people each time, but it's all set around the villages in Barsetshire. So this one is the first in the series, High Rising, and it follows an author, Laura Morland, who returns with her son from London to her place in the country for the Christmas holidays. And when she gets there, she finds that one of her neighbours, George something or other, who is a fellow writer, has taken on a new secretary who is very intent on marrying him, but the new secretary is a bit mad and not very popular. And so Laura and the other neighbours in the village kind of set about trying to get rid of her, really. The writing is fantastic. I am in love with it completely. The pacing's brilliant. The characters are so much fun. There is a lot of P.G. Wodehouse in the way that she writes, but without so much whimsy. So if you enjoy that sort of writing, I would definitely recommend her work. She's an author that I don't hear talked about very much, but yeah, I'm definitely going to read everything in the series. So I'll have a lot to go on because I think there's 30 something books. The next book that I finished, let me get it up again, was Lost in the Shadows, The Story of the Lost Boys by Paul Davis. So Lost Boys is one of my favourite films of all time, so I really enjoyed this book. And if Lost Boys is a film that you enjoy, I would recommend picking it up. I know it's not the cheapest book to buy, but it was worth it. The interviews in here were really good. There was things that I learnt about the making of the film that I didn't know before. The pictures were great. Yeah, it was a really good book if you're a fan of the film. Next was another Agatha Raisin. So it was Agatha Raisin and the Terrible Tourist. In this, Agatha and James are in Cyprus on what would be their honeymoon. And they meet up with another group of tourists, and on a night out with them, one of those tourists gets murdered, and everybody in that group, Agatha and James included, are suspects. And rather than trust to the police to sort it out, they obviously decide to investigate themselves. This is so far my least favourite in the series. I don't know if it's because it's out of the Cotswolds location, which I think is almost as much of a character in the book as the characters are. But yeah, I didn't enjoy it quite as much. But it was an okay story. And then next I finished My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. This is the third book that I've read by this author, and it was brilliant. This follows a young girl called Jade she's an outcast from everybody really in her small Idaho town. Her parents are split up. She has nothing to do with her mum. Her dad is a drunk, a neglectful drunk. And she's going through a lot. The only thing that has ever been a consolation to her is her love of horror, slashers particularly. And then she starts to see signs that a real life slasher is beginning, and she becomes obsessed with following it. This is so good. I could not put this down. If you love horror films, you need to pick this up because it is such a love letter to the genre. It was brilliant. It really was. And then finally, I feel like I need a drum roll for this one because I've been reading this for nearly a year. I finished Firestarter by Stephen King. I think I started this last November, and for some reason, even though I enjoyed it whenever I was reading it, I just never felt the urge to pick it up, and so I forced myself to read this. And I think I gave it sort of a 3 out of 5 because yeah, for some reason I just didn't feel that urge to read. So this follows Andy and his daughter Charlie, who are on the run from this government agency. Back in the day, Andy and his wife, when they were students, they took part in this experiment where they had to take some drugs, and basically it gave them both psychic abilities. So when this went down to their daughter, these abilities were magnified, and the government agency that did the experiment want her. So yeah, he goes on the run with the daughter, and it follows them. I think my problem with this is I didn't like any of the characters in this. So I don't think I really cared what happened to them. But otherwise, I mean, it's Stephen King. It's old Stephen King. It's a good story, but yeah, I just didn't really enjoy the characters as much as I would have hoped. Especially to say you should be invested in a young girl and what's going to happen to her. But yeah, I finally finished it, so I get to move on now with my Stephen King challenge. I can't remember what's next. I think it's Dance Macabre, but I need to double check. But anyway, that is everything that I read in September. So I'm quite happy with 9 books. That's really good. So far, October is shaping up really well for reading. So hopefully I'll have some good things to talk to you about at the end of the month there. But otherwise, that's it. I hope you're really enjoying anything that you're reading at the moment. And I will catch up with you next time. Bye!